It's recorded. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Palm Springs Airport Commission. It's Wednesday, January 15th. It's 5:30 p.m. Welcome all of you online and commissioners, staff, and welcome to today's meeting. We're going to start tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Kevin, I'm going to ask you to lead us, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation.
Thank you. Tanya, has the agenda been posted?
Yes, the agenda has been posted.
Let's take a roll call, please.
Roll call, Commissioners Banks,
Here.
Berryman,
Here.
Burke,
Here.
Caldwell,
Here.
Corcoran,
Here.
Delgado, Evansteiner,
Here.
Feldman is excused, Bong,
Here.
Hedrick,
Here.
Keel,
Here.
Martin is excused, Commissioner Martin might join on Zoom to.
Martin is
here.
Oh,
Sorry.
Praise Jesus. Literally.
And McDermott? Here. Park?
Yes.
Hyde? Sanlanska?
Here.
Wise?
Here.
Wiseman?
Here.
Young.
Looks like we have a quorum. Thank you all for showing up here.
Thank you.
All right, we need a motion to accept the agenda. Can I have a motion, please? Second? So. Got it. Tanya?
Sure, motion to accept the agenda, Commissioners Banks,
Yes.
Berryman,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Delgado. And Evansteiner,
Yes.
Bong, Hedrick,
Yes.
Keel,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
McDermott. Yes. Park. Yes. Hyde. Sanlanska,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman.
Yes.
Awesome, thank you for that. Are there, Tanya, any public comments tonight?
We do not have any scheduled public speakers. Does anybody wish to make a public comment in the room? Anyone on Zoom, please raise your virtual Zoom hand. No, we do not have any public comments.
Looks very good. Okay, we need to approve the minutes from the November 20th meeting. We have a motion to accept the minutes.
I didn't even mention it, but I would keep having my last name misspelled frequently, so maybe we can get that fixed for the future things.
Heads will roll.
Feel silly.
No. That's why we do it. So thank you. We'll make those adjustments.
And I do need to also make one correction. I represent Eagle City, and it's noted that it says Palm Springs for my. So just.
Thank you for that. We'll make those changes. Any other changes? All right, a motion to accept for November 20th, please. One, second?
Second.
Got it. Roll call, please.
Banks,
Yes.
Berryman,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Evansteiner,
Yes.
Bong,
Aye.
Hedrick,
Abstain.
Keel,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
McDermott. Yes. Park. Yes. Sanlanska,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman.
Yes.
Thank you. We have introductions. We have new employees that we're welcome. We're thrilled to have anytime we fill head count here. So I'm going to turn it over to Christina to introduce our new employees, please.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. This evening we have Lourdes Cameroon, go ahead and stand up, and Isabel Sakaros. We'd like to welcome them. They are our newest airport administrative assistants. They both joined the airport team on October 21st, and they provide administrative support to our team, which has been immensely helpful. Specifically, mostly important is that they provide to our manager, they help tracking the contract balances and expiration dates, which is critical for airport operations.
So Christina, welcome. Glad you're with us. Thank you. All right, let's jump into the agenda. 8A, we're talking about the contract services agreement for customer experience. Daniel, take the lead, please.
Yes, thank you.
We have this handout, right?
Yes, so I have items 8A and 8G on the agenda tonight, and so I'm going to, with the permission of the chair and vice chairman, to combine those and cover them both together. So the presentations that you were in your original packet, I have a second one on top. Please use the secondary one. I'll be displaying it. Well, okay, never mind, I'm not sharing. I'm going to share it in just a second for the public. Why isn't it going? You have to let me in on that, or? There we go. There. Well, it was working earlier. Oh, there it is. Hold on. There. All right, so I put it publicly, so sharing on the screens for the public. So all right, item 8A is customer experience program for the airport. This is the very first time we were developing one of these for PSP. It's going to be slow, isn't it? There it goes. Okay, apologies for that. So a little background before I start on this one. So we started the process of developing a customer experience, or CX for short, program for the airport. I started working about a year ago. Started working with Commissioner Burke and Commissioner Feltman and Julie Sinclair from Greater Palm Springs. As we dove into it, trying to figure out what kind of a scope of work we wanted to create to hire a consultant to come work for us, we quickly realized there was quite a bit more than we thought to developing a well-rounded program. So instead, we backtracked a little bit. We hired a consultant to go out and do research from various airports across the U.S. with award-winning programs and see what kind of what they had in their program to see what we wanted to put into ours. We used that research to develop our scope of work for the RFP that the city procurement department then issued. And so we ended up going through an RFP process. That process has been completed. We've selected a winning proposal. And so I'm going to kind of walk through the background now, some of the items in the scope of work, and then talk about the winning consultant. And then it'll be up to you all to choose if we recommend city council to approve or to go take it to city council for their approval. So a little background, let's talk about, the RFP scope. I worked with Commissioner Burke and Commissioner Feltman and Julie Sinclair. One of the top things for us is that we are committed to enhancing the passenger services. I'll amend myself on my screen real quick. Passenger services, and we want to become one of the most accessible and customer-friendly airports in the country. Hold on a second. In the country, and then also I'll say this initiative, we're aiming to deliver a seamless, inclusive, and memorable travel experiences, while also addressing the rising passenger volumes we have and all the many planned expansions we have coming down the pipeline. As you guys know, there are many. So the program plan will be designed to be fully implemented and executed within 3 years of its launch. This plan will include development of a customer experience team that will operate 7 days per week, 365 per year, when we are fully implemented within a 3-year time frame. So the scope, to not go through the RFP scope, this is what we included on the RFP that was published publicly for anybody to access and to bid on. It's meant to be a 3-year implementation plan to be executed by PSP staff. So the consultant will develop the plan from step 1 to final full program implementation within 3 years. And then we will hire a team for customer experience to develop this program for us. They will also determine the adequate number of full-time employees to operate the program, including job descriptions for each position, also organizational structure and hours of operation. And as I mentioned, we have a goal of operating 365. They will also develop initial and recurring training programs for the various employee groups at the airport. So various employee groups will include not only direct Palm Springs airport staff, but also airline staff, rental car staff, concessions, retail, and restaurant staff. I'll also develop key performance indicators to measure the success of each individual initiative within the program, plus the overall customer experience program. And we also plan to develop a good customer service recognition program. One of the things that might include is an on-the-spot award. And when I worked at the airport at Tulsa International in Oklahoma, we had on-the-spot awards. And so, like, say if I saw an airline plane going above and beyond to really help one of the passengers, we'd carry around slips and go, hey, thank you for doing that. Here's a free ice cream cone or a free coffee or whatever. Just to recognize them right in that moment where they're doing good customer service, really make them feel good, so they'll continue doing that for our passengers. We also will have a consultant establish a formal accessibility program for us, because we have a goal along with Visit Greater Palm Springs to become one of the most accessible airports in the nation. We also want to do other passenger assistance programs, like maybe animal therapy programs. There's one called Mangus Card, which is an app which helps people with autism, and maybe just all kinds, there's various things really just make us have a good, positive passenger experience here. And then also, of course, tools to measure the success of those initiatives. Continuing on scope, we'll also be developing a problem reporting program, so employees can report issues that need to be quickly addressed. Audit programs such as street pricing. So you guys know, with our contract, with the concessions, I believe it's street pricing plus 20%. 50. So street pricing plus 50% they can have here in the airport. So we'll have, the staff doing pricing, going out on the street, seeing what prices are for similar items, and then checking prices here to make sure they are within meeting the terms of their contract. We also have them doing audits on appearance and cleanliness of the shops, the airport itself, plus all the restaurants. Customer service, what's their experience via secret shopping? You know, they'll go sit, have a meal, they'll shop, see how their experience is, and give us feedback on it so we can relay that to their management. We also are going to have them find ways to expand and maximize their passenger feedback channels. Currently, most of our feedback comes through social media comments, or we have an online form on the website. We also have a few signs around the airport with a QR code that passengers can scan. We also see what else is out there, what other tools can we use to make it easier to get more feedback so we can really gauge what's our success and how we're improving and where we need to improve. And that'll help you guys make decisions on enhancements and different changes we may make going forward, especially as we're designing the terminal and what needs we may have. We're also going to have them do policies and procedures for hosting special events, such as maybe a live music series, community engagement, maybe year-round holiday programs, different things like that. They'll also be developing plans to maintain positive passenger experience during construction projects, as we all know construction can be a real headache, and it can be quite the job to tackle when trying to get people to have a great experience when how to walk through construction tunnels. There's dust walls everywhere, and just so they can figure out, how do I get from, I used to be able to walk here, now there's a wall, how do I get to the checkpoint now? So different things like that. And then also there are other items like tracking passenger flow, so we can see where are they going and where are the people going at certain times of day, so we can maybe help gauge, you know, hours of operation for shops and restaurants, or maybe we have more people in an area than we thought, maybe we should add additional shop or restaurant areas, something like that. Wayfinding as well, and then queue management. There's some concerns with long lines at the rental cars, especially during season. I don't know if there's a way for us to it was a request of Commissioner Feldman to find a way to cut down on those lines ahead of time before they get here. I'm not sure if there is something like that, but we're gonna have them research and see if there's maybe some sort of technology, something we can do to try and cut down on that. If you guys remember, we have the mobile assistance team right now. We expanded our volunteer program. And so we have a mobile information booth in the baggage claim during the peak hours of the day, midday. And so they'll go by and encourage people, say there's a family of, 7 in line for rental cars, maybe some of them go sit down in one of the waiting areas, maybe one person waits in line to try and shorten that. So that's something, an initiative we're doing right now, but we're seeing maybe there's something else out there we can further improve that. So a consultant, ultimately, I think if I remember correctly, we had 25 different companies that pulled the documents from the city's website to view the RFP request and the scope. There were a couple of local companies on there. They ultimately did not submit a proposal to us. We did have 3 companies that submitted proposals. The one that was selected the RFP process with city's procurement and contracting is a company called PSM Squared. The name on here, I have the word squared, it's actually PSM and the number 2, but yeah. I can figure out how to do it on the computer. They are based in Tempe, Arizona, and they were the highest scoring proposer. But what I love about this is that this company, they were actually formed with other locals who live in Southern California, the LA area and Orange County area. They're in Palm Springs, so they are familiar with our destination. Another thing, my favorite thing is that the staff on it, they have a staff who developed the customer experience programs at LAX, Orange County, and Phoenix. Well, about Phoenix the most is that Phoenix has been the airport for the last 5 to 7 years that has won Airport Council's International Customer Service Award, and they have trademarked the term America's Friendliest Airport. I want to steal that crown from them. So, and overall, the cost is going to be $275,000 to develop the full program plan. And there's additional information in your packet. The staff report does have the full contract in it that was sent to you guys last week for your review. And with that, I'll take questions on the CX program.
Questions?
Yes.
break down the cost there, you said 275,000
Mhm.
for the entire contract or for the first year?
The entire contract.
And how does that pay out?
Oh,
Here's somebody writing in the full check now.
oh, no, we've agreed to pay them percentage complete, so like at 25%, 50%, we'll just cut a check for the portion as items are completed off the list.
And I was reading in the materials that this money is already budgeted for this year.
Yes.
Other comments, please?
Daniel, I had a follow-up question on the payment part. Reading the documents, it sounded like most of their work happens in the first 6 months or so, and then all the
Yes.
follow-up is through the next 2.5 years. Is that accurate?
Oh, yes, sorry for the confusion on that. So yes, the program itself is a 3-year program, and then what the 3-year term is, it's meant for the consultants to develop the plan. They've committed to building the whole plan, working with us as a group and our community, figure out how we want our program to look, building it out, and then we're gonna get a document that's really step 1 through the end of implementation. That's gonna include having job descriptions of all the various positions they determine we need. So we're gonna hire somebody, the first position will probably be a customer experience manager type, and Harry's working, putting in a request to have that position added for next fiscal year. Because I mean, the first person I need is somebody with some experience to help actually implement the plan. So airport staff will be in control of implementation of it. They'll design a plan, and then we'll be able to reach out to them with questions and some advice as needed.
Okay, because my question was similar to Greg's, that the contract, their RFP response, they happen after 6 months. And I've seen this kind of thing before where the whole thing can get paid out up front, and then there can be some lingering issues and you have no money left to pay them. It can be a sticky point, you know.
Yeah, the contract terms are a bit longer because sometimes, as you know, projects, there are times when certain projects maybe will take a little longer than we originally anticipated. We've had that happen here certainly. On the contract, we'll have to double check on that, but the intent was to have it paid in percentage. And we had a meeting with them and procurement was on that. We confirmed with them that they were okay doing it in, 25 or 50% increments, and they did agree to that. So, yeah, no, I don't want to pay for a full product till it's all done and we have everything ready to go, so.
Other comments, please?
I'm curious that you mentioned that they've done these at Lax, Phoenix and Orange County. Lax and Phoenix are hubs, right? Large airports, people spend a lot of time there. I can see where there's a lot more customer expectations, interaction, that kind of thing. Orange County, I think, is larger than us, but it's still more of a destination or a point, right, of an airport. What kinds of things have they done there? I'm trying to look at, understand what we can expect in terms of changes, and thinking maybe Orange County is probably the best example for something that what we could expect to see here.
Well, I don't want to say we're going to replicate those programs because I want us to have something that's unique to us and unique to the Palm Springs brand and what we want to represent for ourselves in hospitality. So there'll probably certainly be aspects they have. Some of that's going to be basically the good customer service customer service recognition program. So we see people helping out, so they'll take some of what they learned from there to implement that here. And I don't think anything has to do with our size. There's airports our size and smaller that have had award-winning programs too. Some other similar options will be accessibility programs. Maybe people with maybe like there's some autism programs that we could put in. People that would be hearing impaired or sight problems, etc. So accessibility problems, we can put a lot of those in here too. I don't have a lot of the details. I don't have the detailed list just yet. We've had our kickoff meeting yet because I really want to research and talk to all of us, our various stakeholders, both airport staff, commission, community members, Visit Greater Palm Springs, etc., to really see what we want to bring in for our program. So as they do their research and build it, then we'll start working with the marketing committee and the operations committee to figure out what aspects we want to put into it, and it'll really make it a unique Palm Springs experience.
Would it make sense to know more about that before we vote on this tonight? Just another question.
I mean, well, I can provide the proposal obviously gave to us. I guess I put up a look at it. And actually in the staff report, there might be some additional details in that too. Let me look at that real quick.
Is the question, that you just want to see the
this compares to other airports.
Well, I'm just trying to understand what our expectations are of this. I mean, it's $275,000 and it's,
Oh, well, the expectations of what we expect in the scope of work that I outlined with accessibility programs, I can back up and Tommy, you moved me out of the meeting. It kicked me out.
yeah, I remember when you said earlier, I guess I was just trying to think of some of the more specific things that what has improved and, you know, we're a great airport when it is, right? People love this airport. I just want to make sure that we're,
What do you think are like the key deliverables out of this project and programs that you're most excited that'll be created by this group and implemented by this new team?
That was gonna be the accessibility programs, I think, that really help with us. I know Visit Greater Palm Springs, there's a lot more conventions and conferences they can bring in that help people come in. So for me, I think the accessibility part of it, anything from maybe to the elderly to anybody who may be hearing impaired, et cetera. Other ones, I think the customer recognition program, which on the spot programs for employees for what they're doing, training programs. We have no initial training programs right now. And so some of our current customer experience programs we have, like the Navigator program under volunteers, it's kind of an ad hoc one. But we don't have full rollout of having staff to actually be out there. Another thing I really like is I'm looking forward to is having staff where they're going to be roaming around and say, they'll be on the terminal, see somebody, well, dedicated staff, our airport staff, it'll be our train, brand, representing our brand, and they'll be able to help passengers who may be lost. Maybe they're walking around, they say, oh, there's a light bulb out here. They'll be able to call maintenance real quick and get that replaced. Maybe they say they get bathroom needs cleaned, they'll be checking the bathrooms. We'll really have boots on the ground, eyes and ears on the ground, real time, as our staff talking to us directly, telling us what the problems are right then and there so we can fix it, rather than right now, say if a customer makes a complaint on a Saturday afternoon, well, the staff that answers that, we're not at work right now, we see it on Monday, then it goes in, and maybe could have been an issue that if it wasn't noticed, could have been going on all weekend long. We have to go to the weekends, we'll have staff here to maintain customer experience that maybe they don't. And we have our maintenance and operations team, but as you guys know, we've been short staffed, and they don't have a lot of bandwidth for doing this, so it'll be really a support group to help all that it should point them where they need to go.
What's the forecast of the account?
We don't know yet. So right now, my guess would be a manager position, supervisory role, maybe 2 coordinators and maybe 4 to 6 specialists as an entry level position on that one. Until we know exactly all the programs are going to be implemented, exactly what hours a day we're going to operate, what shifts we have, we won't know the total number. But these people will research that based on our needs and what we want, and they'll put that together for us.
So what I'd like to share maybe might help you with the process of this. So Commissioner Feltman, myself, and of staff from Visit Greater Palm Springs sat down with Daniel very early on in this process. And our initial goal walking into the room was to develop what the scope of this program would look like. It probably took us 15 minutes to realize that none of us in that room had the expertise to understand what we needed to put into it. So that's where we came up with hiring just a consultant who could help us think smartly in this area and help us develop what does good look like, what does excellent look like. And through that process with her, we developed what that full scope would look like. Then we stepped back because we can't be part of that RFP process. And then we were trusting in the RFP process, right? That we've developed a thorough enough scope and that RFP is completed to the satisfaction of the review committee. And I think that's where we find ourselves now with this particular group. And all I would ask Daniel was there one special thing that made this group stand out from your perspective?
Yeah, for us, it's really their experience in developing the programs at LAX, Orange County, and especially the award-winning program at Phoenix. And LAX and Orange County have all worked for. So we really wanted to make sure that I want to have an award-winning program because if you have an award-winning program, you have an excellent program. You're doing amazing customer service and your passengers are having positive experiences. And a lot of these surveys are done, they're actually voted by the people who are flying through the airport. So you're actually experiencing how your customer service is and what your experience is. So if we aim to win that, I feel like overall we're really succeeding on it.
And I'm of the mind, if you can develop a customer service experience at a connection airport that is robust, I think that's the harder one, quite frankly, to develop. And if you can hit on all of that and have that background and experience, I think you can really nail it at an O&D airport, which is what we are. So it gets me excited.
Commissioner Young.
You're muted, Commissioner Young.
You reference the 5 strategic priorities that we have all been working on for a while. And while I know the way to apply this or operationalize this may not be obvious, I'm just would nudge you if this moves forward to keep the sustainability component of our strategic priorities as an element of what's considered. Again, that's perhaps not as easy to imagine, or it is not as easy to imagine how that might be operationalized in terms of customer experience. But I think to the extent that we want to lean into sustainability as a core priority and component of what we represent, I would hope that that would be incorporated if this moves forward.
Absolutely, we'll ensure that we'll have that incorporated.
Good point. Thank you for that. For sure. Okay, let's have it and then we'll go.
Just, from my perspective, I think the really critical piece of this is the training in customer service. That's where you can really make substantial differences in how staff act. Because it's not something that comes naturally to people. We need training on customer service. Otherwise, it just won't, except for a rarefied few. So if we can get an excellent training program in here, we can really take that jump from great to excellent.
And there's the components of this: training, coaching for management, and the recognition programs. If they're all executed together, so you're constantly reinforcing the messages and the skill sets and the set of values, that could be really helpful. For sure, hi.
I think it's proactive and not reactive. We had a problem with the restaurants before. So I commend you for this. But I have a question for the attorney. This I don't understand. It's page 8 and it's number 12. And it's regarding Russia. And I'm not understanding why it's in there.
Jeremy, that's for you on Zoom.
Oh.
So are you talking about the Ukrainian sanctions section, or?
Yeah, it says compliance with economic sanctions in response to Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah. So essentially, Governor Newsom back in 2022, when Russia initially launched its war in Ukraine, issued an executive order that basically provided that anything using state money or involving state level entities can't give money to organizations on the sanctions list. That's what that language is referencing there. Usually for companies doing business in California, I haven't had any company that's been on a sanctions list yet, but it's just a bit of a weird legal requirement to comply with.
About the use of this money for this program, when we've got a report in the packet that talks today about how our runways and our taxiways have been evaluated as being in poor condition. And we've got the FAA clawing back money that we hope to get back to install the baggage claim system. And the report also talks about how we lack a pavement management program at this airport. And I realize that this is $250,000. It may not be the money you need for a whole runway or a whole taxiway. But like someone once said before, $250,000 here, $250,000 there, and pretty soon you're talking some real money. So what I'm wondering is whether or not this money is earmarked in a way that's appropriate for what this airport needs right now, and that is just a question.
Other questions, comments?
Do we have anybody in the room that wishes to make a public comment? Anybody on Zoom, please raise your virtual Zoom hand.
All right, no public comments. All right. Your request is that we vote on this and we approve this today?
Yes, to the council.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Can I have a motion to approve and a second, please?
To recommend to the city council.
To recommend to city council.
A motion to recommend to the city council the approval of a contract service agreement for customer experience program would be that.
I'll make the motion. I'll make second.
Let's take a roll call, please.
Roll call, Banks,
Yes.
Berryman,
Yeah.
Burke,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran, Evansteiner,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Nay.
Hendrick,
Yes.
Keel,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
McDermott,
Yes.
Park,
Yes.
Pye,
Yes.
Sam Lamska,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, part two of your presentation.
Yes. So on the second page is my computer started doing an update, unfortunately, right now. I'm sorry, it's starting work, it's starting to pop right now. I think Christina said I made a couple of changes. I do have to do this on the thing. Okay, so one moment, I apologize. Computers always do updates at the most inopportune time, correct? Correct, there we go. Go sure. Okay, this is 8G, so marketing air service update. So our passenger numbers came in, we had some really good news. Passenger numbers for total passenger numbers for December was 338,000. Oh my God. This is not my day, you guys, I apologize. It's January, it's New Year. Okay, there we go. Thank you for pointing that out. All right, so December total passenger counts came in at 338,505, a 4.1% gain over 2023, giving us our 5th record month in the year. Unfortunately, it was not quite enough to give us another record year. We were just 0.2% or 6,411 passengers shy of matching 2023 numbers. I think it's close enough to call it a wash. I did include numbers from 22, 21, and 19, so we're still well ahead of those years. So overall, we're doing pretty good. I do want to remind everybody of some key factors that were influenced our 2024 passenger counts. If you recall the 737 MAX grounding, I think we had a total of 65 different flights, almost like 16 or 14,000 seats taken out of the market. And also San Francisco had some runway construction where they had to reduce their capacity by 50%. So both Alaska and United had half the number of flights for the summer they're supposed to. Southwest also had some additional flights they're going to do in the summer, but they couldn't because of 737 MAX. So I blame Boeing and SFO. Next, we have one more seasonal flight to return. That is Flair Airlines with their seasonal service to Vancouver. It's going to be starting on the 16th of February. It'll operate through April 2022. And go. Why does that go? Now it's thinking. Oh my God. I'm sorry, everybody. There we go. Okay, so looking ahead, passenger seat counts versus 1 year ago. Looking very good starting out for 2024. February's up 3%. March is going to be up 6.8%. April's up 10.3% compared to last year. And then May is going to be up 9.7%. So we're looking very, very strong. I looked ahead to the summer in June and July. Those are also tracking well ahead of last June and July. I didn't put the numbers in here because looking that far out, airlines have actually finalized their schedules then, so those definitely could change. And also I want to mention, we co-hosted with Visit Greater Palm Springs and hosted a conference called the Airport Roundtable as an air service development, airport marketing conference, and brought industry professionals from airlines and airports across the U.S. and Canada to Palm Springs. I thank Commissioner Byrd for his work with Visit Greater Palm Springs staff for the amazing conference they put on. We had 9 airlines attend and they're able to experience our destination. Hosting conferences as part of our overall effort to increase air service at PSP. By providing an in-market experience that helps back up the business case we make to the airlines and tell people why people are coming to Palm Springs and what they want to be here, and they can see it for themselves. It's much different to experience it in person versus just hearing about it when you're sitting across a table giving a presentation at their headquarters. Visit Greater Palm Springs puts together some great opportunities. The folks got to tour the tram. They got to play golf with some of great courses. They got to do what I got to do first time as well. We got to do an electric bike tour of Palm Springs, the old Los Palmas neighborhood. beautiful. I actually saw some streets and neighborhood homes I haven't even seen yet, and it was a great time. They did a good evening. We hosted at the Omni Rancho Hotel in Palm Desert. They got a visit down valley as well. Had some great networking evening reception overlooking the golf course there. And then the closing party was at PS Underground. If you guys have not been, highly recommend it. People came across just raving about that destination. The airlines loved it. The airports loved it. I'm still getting emails thanking us for bringing everyone to town, especially with the snowstorm going on last week at the rest of the US. And a great highlight of this one is this conference is typically probably more 70% airport attendees, 30% airlines. Ours was 50-50. We had an exceptional number of airline representatives in town experiencing the destination, having a wonderful experience. So that's part of our efforts to help, keep promoting our destination, getting more airlines and more non-stop routes. Any questions on that?
Questions? Please.
You mentioned that 9 airlines attended. Which one? And what did they have to say about, the service we provide here as an airport?
Well, so this conference, the airlines do give updates, but they're not talking specifically here, like our customer service here, but they're giving updates. They did talk about their demand in Palm Springs. They're all seeing very positive numbers, and they had some great information they shared. But generally they had like one slide on just PSP because we were the host airport. That's just kind of just something they do for whatever this conference bounces around to. But the rest of it was really just updates on what they are doing as a company, their forecasting ahead, taking on plane deliveries and getting airports information that we can look at and say, okay, this airline's not going to have aircraft availability. Like for instance, Southwest, because of the Boeing delivery delays, we found out they're going to have a negative aircraft growth through the next couple of years. So there's not a lot of opportunity for us to get growth from them. But they've told us how they're doing some different aspects, like they're adding red-eye flying to get additional flying time, and they're shortening their turn times to add some more, get some more available seat miles going on. So it's really more educational for airports, and they do a few updates on it. But all the airline conversations I had, and Todd, to back me up, tell me what you had, but they all had very positive things to say. United had a lot of great things to say about our new DC service. They were thrilled with how well it's performing. Porter, well, they weren't in attendance, but I talked to them recently. They're happy with what's going on. And we had some other interesting, a company called Landline, which is like a bus service that, like the SkyWest Airlines operates under the Delta brand, or United, and flies for American. There's a company called Landline. It's like a bus, but the same kind of thing where they operate. And so I had a conversation with them. Maybe we'll be able to get them to maybe do branded like American or Delta bus service to say LAX, how it works. If you're not, is anybody familiar with Landline? Are you? Okay, I've taken it. Have you been on it before?
No.
It's a wonderful experience. It's not like Greyhound. It's a very nice, plush, new bus, Wi-Fi, restroom, everything. And you board the plane from the airport. You get on at a gate, so you get. So I flew last time I went from here to Denver to Fort Collins, Colorado. Flew on United. From Denver, I walked from the B concourse to the A concourse, or the ground boarding gates. Got on the bus like I would an RJ. They left from the security gate, went to Fort Collins, and they dropped at the front of the terminal to pick me up. They've since now got, and then you come from the terminal, go back, you do security in Denver, and then come back. They've since got approval from TSA, they can start doing as a plane. So now you would say, go from here to Denver, get on the bus, go to Fort Collins Airport, go inside the security, come off and go through the gate into the gate holder like you would from an aircraft. And you do the reverse, you do security in Fort Collins, and then you connect in Denver like you're a plane and go on, cuts down the time. I'm want to work with them about possibly pitching LAX, because we have a number of people who drive. We leak a lot to LAX, and we all know that. So having a bus service isn't going to take away from the air service we have. It gives us an opportunity to capture those people who are already driving. I mean, we'll get PFCs, concession revenue, parking revenue, and they still driving at LAX, but they're at least coming here, spending money with us, and then we capture passenger traffic, and they can go into LAX, connect plane side, and avoid the parking and the security at LAX. So I think that's something interesting we want to look at. That was one of my key takeaways I thought was very interesting from this conference.
All I can say is I cornered the United people to be very blunt about how we're doing on the Dulles service, because that's very important to us. And as Daniel said, they could not be happier with what they're seeing in a really short period of time. Right, so our goal is to obviously start extending that even later into the season, earlier into the season, with an ultimate year-round if we possibly could. So very productive.
Yeah, it's great. And also just the opportunities to get there and to the people you're constantly emailing with at airline headquarters, just sit there and have some FaceTime with and develop a relationship. So we want to call them past something. It's a better conversation. So I think that's probably invaluable for us.
And what were those 9 airlines?
Oh, gosh, okay, you're testing my memory right now. So, American Delta, American Delta, United, Southwest, Sun Country, Landline, WestJet, Air Canada. I'm missing one.
Order.
No, was Porter? No, Porter wasn't there. No, it's an airline that flies here, but who was it? Not Allegiant. Air Canada. Not a Bello. Oh my gosh, Jay, you're testing me. I didn't write down, I'm sorry.
All the major airlines.
Yeah.
Other questions? All good? Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
Do we have anybody in the room that wishes to make a public comment? Anybody on Zoom, please raise your virtual Zoom hand.
All right. Leasing policies, Victoria. For those of us who ever wanted to go to law school, the pre-work on this was really fun. What can you tell us about it? The leasing.
All right, good evening, everyone. So tonight before you, we have, the airport leasing policy as well as 3 leasing templates that, we're asking for the airport commission to recommend to the city council for adoption. So, essentially why we're putting this before you is because we want to formalize a policy for any of our airport leases that relate to terminal concessions and land leases. And so what that means for us is, there's many times where people will reach out to the airport to say, hey, we want to do business with you guys. And we want to be able to say, hey, this is our leasing policy and this is our formalized process of how you can get into the airport. We want to make it fair with everyone. We want them to essentially apply and show that they are able to financially be sustainable and help, that they actually have the funds and have been sustainable over time to show that they are able to be sustainable in the airport. So this policy goes through and identifies that process. It also identifies the 3 different leases. We would put the policy and the leases online so that we can work with people that contact us. It describes aeronautical and non-aeronautical leases, or aeronautical and non-aeronautical purposes at an airport. So, that is our main purpose here at PSP, is to make sure that we're, supporting aeronautical services on our airport. And so we just wanted to identify that so that, when we have anybody and everybody coming to us, we're gonna say, hey, we have this policy that we're gonna follow. So, that's what we're asking for tonight, is for, the airport commission to recommend to city council that we take this policy to city council, as well as the templates. So, the templates, just to give you, some feedback on the templates and the policy. We actually worked with Frasca, our financial consultant, to help us with this leasing policy. And then we even vetted and farmed out to some other airports, including Long Beach, just to see what their process is, how they do leases. And you may have heard me say this term before, but when you've seen one airport, you've seen one airport. So it really depends on what our needs and what our space is here at the airport. A lot of our terminal space that we have here is space that's our ground handlers enter into leases with us, so that they can help support the airlines. So it's really leases for like their break room and for their management offices and any kind of storage space, like maybe baggage storage space or car seats or things like that. So a lot of every space within the airport could technically be rented out to a business that supports the airlines and passengers in some type of way. So these templates are going to be an off-the-shelf template. If they apply and they qualify based off of our policy, we can then enter into these leases with them for any kind of space that we have here at the airport. So I'm available for questions if anyone has questions.
Please.
So we don't have this now?
There is not a policy
So
now.
anytime anybody wants to lease something, you start from scratch and.
Not so much. We have a template that maybe we issue to somebody else, but we've even worked with BBK, Jeremy Holm, on this. So
it's been a process that's been needed and it will definitely reduce staff time and create some efficiencies here.
We just didn't have a standard to follow.
What do you think are the highest impacts, kind of provisions in the templates, from your eyes?
Highest impact and from what perspective?
Just from things that maybe weren't getting done that will now be kind of in there by default, which are the most important provisions to you guys?
Well, I think I'll step into just, from the lawyer's perspective, I like having very consistent risk management language, very consistent insurance requirements and indemnities. Just in the sense that we're starting off on the same foot with everyone. Now, of course, depending on the type of business that would come in, there may be a need to bring in the city's risk manager to think about different insurance requirements. But the most important thing is having a base to work off of and having a ready-made city template to put in front of potential tenants, basically, to start off on the right foot.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Is it fair to say the biggest impact would be savings in staff time? And
Yes.
for the city attorney's time, because you get all these little tiny companies come to you and say, hey, I'd like to put this on the spot or something, and it just takes a lot of time
Absolutely.
dealing with those folks. Instead of you direct them to the website, if you're interested, go through the procurement process, starting with this. So I think it's a great move,
Thank you.
very much.
Please. So Victoria, I totally support this. I think it's spot on. I submitted some questions, some feedback. Did any of that get addressed? Any modifications to this based on that feedback?
Yes, so thank you so much for your feedback. And then I also had some feedback from Commissioner Caldwell as well. I think that a lot of this information, a lot of your feedback that was incorporated in there. There may be some consideration on like the good neighbor language. There was something where we, and maybe Jeremy Holm can speak on this a little bit more. We have a noise policy for that, so
Yeah.
we did make some changes to the wording of it, but we did incorporate a good chunk of everything that was in there. So if you haven't seen responses, hopefully you'll get them.
Yeah, can I ask just a couple?
Sure.
The 4.2 where the annual adjustment is based on CPIU, that seems kind of a broad inflation index.
Mhm.
Did you guys consider more like commercial real estate
Yeah, absolutely.
index?
So we actually worked with Frasca on this, and then we even reached out to Long Beach Airport on this as well. So, it's not something that's common to use within the aviation industry.
Okay.
So we ended up keeping it with CPI.
So it's kind of a standard that the industry does, okay.
Yes.
And then the hazard materials, I had a comment about somebody causes a toxic waste dump on airport property, they go belly up, is the airport liable for that? I mean, how are we protecting ourselves from hazardous waste?
Yeah, absolutely. Very good question. And Jeremy, if you want to weigh in on this one, please feel free.
So basically, we have very specific hazardous language, indemnity, and insurance requirements. So you brought up the always ever-present issue. If someone goes bankrupt, how do we actually recover from that? In that case, we would have to proceed probably through the bankruptcy courts as a creditor and get in line for that. But for the standard situation here, we have specific indemnities and specific insurance requirements. So, it's the two-pronged protection method. One is you have the indemnity where they have the obligation to cover the legal cost and claims of that. And then number two, you have the insurance backup to make sure that there's someone available to foot the bill. So that's how we would normally get through that, just kind of with the normal risk management process. But if there's any sort of complicated issue like that, we might have to go through bankruptcy. We might have to go into an action with the insurer if the insurance policy is still valid. Just a lot of considerations there.
Okay, but you're comfortable with the level of risk mitigation?
Yeah, we're comfortable with it.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. And thank you for your time reviewing it. We put a lot of good feedback there. Commissioner Caldwell?
Very, very quickly, but Jeremy really addressed what I was going to say, because I immediately went to the indemnification and mostly the insurance verification process. And the airport already has a process in place to make sure someone hasn't been canceled or non-renewed. And we were discussing this before the fires. So that portion of what we're doing is very important. They would have a way to verify, yes, they have insurance and it's still in force. So reading the whole thing, I'm very satisfied with how this has been put together.
Thank you.
Thanks for your input, both of you, for that. That's helpful. With no other consideration, can we have a motion to approve this? Do you have formal motion language or do you have formal language?
I can read it out, or
Please.
Tanya.
Yes, Tanya, do you have it?
Yes,
Go
it's a motion to recommend to the city council the approval, or sorry, excuse me, I apologize. Motion to recommend to the city council the adoption of the leasing policy.
Any?
And the ground.
Hold on, any public comments? Here, there, everywhere, go. All right, second? All right, let's vote. And again, thank you for your time. Thank you.
Roll call, or excuse me, vote, roll call.
Wait, I'm so sorry, just for clarification, so this is, to the adoption of the airport leasing policy, the ground lease, the terminal lease templates for the airport, so I just wanna make sure all of that's included.
All that's included.
Yes.
All right,
Okay.
roll call, please.
Banks,
Yes.
Barrington,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Evansteiner,
Yes.
Bond, Hedrick,
Yes.
Hill,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
McDermott. Yes. Park.
Yes.
Hyde,
Yes.
Sam Lanska,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Thank you all, Victoria, thank you, lots of work. Thank you so much. All right, main terminal floor, we got a wonderful shout out from our friends at the Palm Springs Post about our progress with the terrazzo floors. It was nice to see that today. Jeremy, what are we doing with the floor update from your perspective?
Yeah, we have a presentation here. Neil is here with Gensler and is working on our flooring update project, and we're gonna walk you through kind of what our plan here is and kind of show you some of the samples of what our plan is to do with the main terminal building. So I'll pass it over to Neil. Great.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. I have about 5-6 slides. I think we can get through this really quickly. First of all, let's start off with what is the scope of this project. So we are replacing the terrazzo here in the main terminal building, the head house, in the security screening checkpoint, in ticketing, in the hallway that leads to the back lane, the main central terminal part here where you enter the building. And then there are separate projects that address the terrazzo in the breach gate area and the back lane area. Those are separate projects. The project we're moving forward with is that defined area. So you can see here what we're doing is removing carpet in wherever it exists in the head house here. And we're removing any existing terrazzo, and we're going to be replacing that terrazzo. So keeping main lobby, circulation, all those areas. Part of our process was to look at what was here historically, what was the original flooring in the building. We did some research, found drawings in the archive at the museum about the flooring layout. This was pretty important to us because of the way the grids were laid out on the floor, those divider strips in the terrazzo itself. And we also did some research in the building, found the sample, and what we're trying to do is match as close as possible to the original color of the terrazzo. We're also adding a second color in that, and I will show you that in the design here in a second. But the point was to go back to what the original building was, to make sure that we're honoring the architecture and design that was here in 1966. My next slide is to show you, this is the full head house of the terminal area, and specifically the zones where we're replacing again up in the SSCP here in the upper right, the main entry in the center here. We're doing the hallway that takes you down to back lane, doing all the ticketing areas all the way to the very end of ticketing on the right here. Our terrazzo grid layout pattern is slightly different than the original, but we're honoring the original with the same type of placement and same type of geometry in the same areas, but it's just slightly larger to sort of give prominence to the space itself, to recognize the fact that things have changed over the years, but it's really harmonious with what was there in the past, to recognize the building itself. The
The next slide, I think, has our materials and colors that we're working with. I have two samples here of the material. The lighter color is the color that will be predominant in the area. It identifies all of the primary circulation. It is the lighter tone in this drawing here. And then we have a secondary color, which is darker, and that is in areas that have a different function now. So the security screening checkpoint, where the checkpoint lanes are, we're gonna have the darker color. The back of house behind, well, not back of house, but the area where the ticket counters are and right behind them will be the darker color. And then eventually it's also reflected in the bag claim area where you're waiting for your bags. But the idea was to keep the lighter color throughout all the circulation zones. So when you come into the building, when you come down to ticketing, when you go to the left to bag claim, all of those areas will have the lighter color indicating the primary circulation paths as it was in 1966. Let's see here. So those are our colors, and you can look at the colors here as well. And then the last part of this is to let you know that we are working on phasing of this. This is flooring that's being replaced in an active airport environment. Ticketing will be ongoing, security screening will be ongoing, people will need to circulate throughout this space. So we've developed a phasing plan for this. We can't do everything at once, but what we are trying to do is areas in ticketing, some areas in the SSCP, and areas in the main lobby, but we're not trying to shut down everything at one point in time. There's a much more detailed phasing plan about how we're moving the equipment around within the security screening checkpoint. When we complete one phase, we move equipment into that area, we close down another area. We try to keep that operational. We replace the pattern that people are going to take through the space. Very similar with the ticketing area. We have to close down sections of it. We have 5 primary phases in ticketing because it is a little more complex. But we'll finish one area, close down another area. There will be times when passengers have to come into the building and then go back to the curb and then back into the building to get back to the center area. But hopefully those are limited time periods, but we couldn't keep it all operational and all open at the same time. So that's a little jigsaw puzzle that we're working with over the long term. So we think we have a viable process for that to address phasing throughout the project. That's about it for my presentation. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah, sure.
I was just wondering if you could speak to what the swell that's there now, that it sounds like it's been taken out in place.
Sure.
The state of it, what you think it has.
Oh, sure, definitely. So sort of easy in the center area here, it was replaced in the early 1990s. It's not the historic terrazzo. We're going to take that out, obviously, because we want to replace what was there originally, brighten that space up. Some terrazzo exists, yes, in these other areas under ticketing. It was originally there, and then on the corridor to bag claim. That terrazzo has been there a long time. It's not in good repair. It's probably not worth the effort to bring that back to life. We think it's better to replace it throughout, so we have the same product across the entire airport. It's brand new, it's fresh, it's updated, and it's consistent. So, yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, that was about it. Sorry.
So my dimension must be kicking in, because based on our last meeting, we did a bunch of votes on how we were going to spend some money. And the vote was we were going to spend money on the inspection area for international flights, and we were not going to do this. The second, so I don't know how we got from there to here. The second thing is, and it's what I've learned just doing renovations in my own home and other renovations I've been involved in, technology is changing so fast. So like in the ticket area, the technology of how you used to get a ticket, etc., 5 years, 3 years ago is different than it is today. You go to some airports and you see a whole new technology, which I'm sure at some point will creep into this airport. How do you get power, etc., to these sticks that they have, you know, for check-in, getting your, baggage claim tag, et cetera. Yeah, how is that going to work? Are you going to be digging up a section of terrazzo each time? And each time, if I remember, what I've seen elsewhere where people trying to patch, you can really see the patch.
Yeah.
And since we're getting ready to do a couple of $1 billion worth of work, and some of the work is going to involve this area, why would we spend this money at this time?
So let me answer the first question. Yeah, I think there may be some confusion between the last meeting, which was really meant as Measure J, and we were trying to figure out, did we want to allocate more Measure J or Measure D money towards this particular project, which hopefully eventually we will talk about, but it was not meant that we were doing this project or not doing this project. We're still going to be using our cash funds to help offset what was already authorized by Measure J as part of the flooring project, so.
Now that works, okay, I'm okay there.
And then I'll let Neil kind of talk about the kiosks a little bit, the self-serve kiosks, but we are gonna be making room for reinstalling the kiosks.
Yeah, so what this project is contemplating is we're not radically changing where the counters are or the kiosks. There's power and data that runs under the floor to those areas right now. We're maintaining that in this particular project. We do have to move those things to do the terrazzo. We have to move the kiosks, the podiums and the kiosks to actually do the work, but we're not going to relocate that. We're relying on the existing power and data. I know your question is really about future proofing. And that, you know, those are other discussions for other projects, quite frankly. The scope of the work that I was given was to replace what is there now at the moment, to replace the flooring and maintain the operation that we have today.
Ken is making a really good point, and I want to build on that as well. I think future proofing, I know is going to be impossible, but are we looking at these projects and considering the sequencing? Because again, to the degree that, I mean, we've got a long road here with a lot of projects, to the degree that we're gonna maybe make some major IT changes, other implementations, are we considering that as we're looking at these different projects and the timelines and the sequence of when we do the work? So we're not digging up terrazzo flooring.
Right. Well,
That's the idea.
To our knowledge, there's nothing else going into ticketing necessarily that we know of right now, right? So that's one piece of it. We understand the checkpoint is probably going to be the checkpoint for a while. We are integrating terrazzo into the you know, replacing the revolving doors downstairs at the breach gate project as well. We're not digging into the baggage claim because that's part of the baggage claim project, right? Because we know we have to tear down that building and that will happen. So,
I'll jump in there, and I don't know if this is the right answer or the wrong answer, but there is a master plan process underway that you guys are very aware about. Ticketing and the baggage claim or the outbound baggage system, the SSCP, all of these functions are going to be moving slightly in that future master plan. So they're not going to be exactly right in the same area. There's going to be a major renovation and expansion to accommodate that master plan. So I would say there's future opportunities for those changes to come. They're just not part of this project now. You know, check-in and ticketing is going to be just slightly down to the right as it's anticipated in the master plan drawings that are developed. They're trying always to maintain the outbound baggage handling system. They're working around that. Security is going to be moving, but it'll be slightly in that area as well. So those are major projects and major changes to the airport that when we get to those, yes, the technology of the moment and future proofing and thinking about the future will be included in those projects. I think we are really trying to replace the flooring to increase customer satisfaction and guest experience in all of those areas right now to make sure that we have something. We're trying to get projects in the process at the moment to raise that level.
and part of this was to replace, you know, we have all this carpet everywhere. Well, why are we kind of hiding terrazzo? What do we do about carpet, replacing carpet? And the original was like, okay, we need to figure out how to either start replacing the carpet or bring back some kind of hard flooring. And after discussion, we all determined that it made sense to bring back the original terrazzo and to do terrazzo everywhere to and increase that customer service experience.
So we know carpet has a life of X in a terminal. And you plan on replacing it. So what is the useful life of this terrazzo floor? Is it 10 years? Is it 15 before we have to go in and do it again?
So it has a lifespan about 20 to 30 years, basically, for terrazzo. The stuff downstairs has held up pretty well since 1993. That's pretty much on average. If you go take a look at it, you'll see areas where it's worn and such. But you can get, double the life out of it that you would get out of carpet. Carpet needs a lot more maintenance as well, cleaning, replacement. Terrazzo just needs, cleaning as well, but it's not as invasive as carpet cleaning is. Cleaner environment, easier to maintain. There's a lot of benefits, but you are getting quite a few years out of it.
Because with carpet, and I'm replacing it all the time, I can dig under it easily to run new wires or technology. I mean, a lot of technology is becoming wireless. Power is not wireless yet. And that's the big issue that
I think we can, talk amongst the team to figure out how to, add some future proofing type of, conduit runs. If we're already kind of doing some conduit runs, we can look at as part of this project, how do we accommodate some additional, so we can take that back to the team and look at that. Okay.
Sorry, can everybody in here?
Eric,
Can you hear me?
Eric?
Yes, we can
Yeah,
read
go
it.
ahead.
Oh, okay,
Hold on,
so,
Eric. Hold on, please. Go ahead.
Real quick, the terrazzo that we plan on taking up, do we know if there will be any asbestos type issues?
Can't speak to that. We do not think that there would be. The terrazzo technology has changed over the years. Terrazzo was cementitious in the old days. I'm imagining that's what was down there before. It was a number of inches thick and it was on like a 3 or 4 inch sand setting bed. Our new terrazzo is epoxy terrazzo. It's about 3/8 of an inch that sits on top of it. I wouldn't anticipate hazardous materials in the replacement process.
Okay, and having said that, if there is, can we just put the new terrazzo over it?
Yes, that's what we're intending. Yeah, that's what we're intending to do. So they polish down those, take that carpet out, take that glue off, polish those floors down that are existing, get a nice level bed. You can put epoxy terrazzo over both existing epoxy terrazzo or cementitious terrazzo as well. Just as long as they're not going to take out the existing floor. I mean, we're going to take off that carpet, but we're not going to take out whatever's there.
Okay, Harry, we're ready. Harry.
no, thank you. I just wanted to speak to the future proofing issue for a second. So we actually, I don't know if you all recall, but we just recently went through ticketing wing renovation and baggage handling system. And in that project, we actually did a lot of future proofing already. So we ran additional conduit, we ran additional fiber runs, electrical. We had already planned for that for about 20 to 30 years out. So those are already in the flooring and in the walls. We can tap into them at any time. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Can you remind us what's the total budget for all phases of this terrazzo flooring replacement installation?
That's a good question. We're trying to fine tune that number, but right now our estimate is about 3 million.
About 3. And so in the spirit of Commissioner Fong, is this the right way to spend $3 million if we have other higher priorities and then do we really think this is going to enhance customer experience to be worth $3 million? So I don't know comments about that.
The whole thing about the runways and everything else, you guys got to let us know what the status of that, because some of that report was pretty scary. All right, and so the idea that the runways are falling apart and do we spend money for these other things, I think is a really real question, right? So we really need to understand where's the money coming to fix the runways. Yeah, I've had a lot of feedback about this. We got a big shout out again today in the post about possibility of doing this. I think for the design community and the preservation community, this is a big win for us for $3 million. I mean, the carpets are falling apart, and so we have to put something to replace them. So, and I think our long-term plan is going to take a while. I mean, we all think we'd love to have this thing done in 4 or 5 years to have 7 gates plus the FIS plus everything else done. I think it's going to take some time, and we saw that in our last meeting. Just the impact of just finding the money to do these other projects, the $2 billion that Ken is talking about. For $3 million to take this facility back to its original flooring, and using terrazzo, which is sexy and all part of this whole, mid-century modern type of thing, I think is a big win for us. It demonstrates to the community that cares about this building, we heard all about that in the last 18 months, that, we're willing to make these incremental changes that reflect the spirit of the building and how it was designed and everything else. Frankly, I was surprised when we shifted from carpet to terrazzo because we hadn't talked about that much, but the feedback we're receiving on this is we're on the right path here. We're making incremental decisions that reflect the history of the building because it's going to take a while before the long-term plan kicks in. We're going to be able to show the results of all the work we've done on that. So I'm getting a lot of positive feedback. Like this is really a classy move. And I think the questions we asked tonight about, future protecting and all, I think those are important. But we need some wins. And this one seems is published, the timeline in this is this year. Is that right?
We're trying to start this summer.
Yeah. Could really be a plus, I think, for us, for $3 million to get this result. But it doesn't negate the other questions we got to understand about the runways and everything else. But I think it's a win. Kevin?
Just adding my recollection from the last talking about this, it was a year ago. But my recollection was that we looked at the MAC and we said it'll cost us more upfront, but it'll save us over the 20, 30 years to put into terrazzo from operational cost and just the carpet replacement repeating over and over again every 5 years. And I forget how much it was. We might go back and look at the recording from that, but it was substantial from my recollection.
Including time value of money, like you like.
That's the one thing that works against it, of course. Against it, the customer service impacts are phenomenal because this is the modern standard across pretty much every major airport now in the world. There's nothing people loathe more than dragging your bag cars carpet. And the higher the pilot is, still worse.
Please.
Yeah, I agree, and I have a question for you, but I also want to say that I think, not just from a historical perspective, but from, a health perspective with the things that get trapped in carpet, and I know I get allergies from carpet, and I think that just from that piece of it, the clean aspect of having carpet in the environment, I think is a win. I may have missed this in your presentation. I'm wondering about the construction timing. Is the construction going to be done during peak hours, or are we going to see some off hours for the majority of the construction? Just to understand the impact to the customers in the airport.
Yes, it's a good question.
Oh, sure. So the number one is where the low season is when we're starting this project. So we want to start in June and get through the whole process while the flights are not as busy here in the airport itself. We want to maximize the ability for those teams to do as much as possible. That's why we're looking at our complex phasing plan here. We have not addressed in terms of cost what would be the impact if there were longer shifts to do that work later into the day or overnight or other things like that. There'll still be a disruption to the space. We still have to deal with that. But we're looking at every method to accelerate the process to make sure we can get it done.
Jeremy, what are you looking from the commission tonight?
I don't think we added a motion because we're taking the council next week for approval to advertise the project. We're pretty much at 100%. We're almost at 100%. So we really wanted to bring that to you to talk about it, present what the project is. We can certainly do a motion if you want to do that. I don't know if we can add that or not, but it might be helpful that the city council knows that the commission supports.
Can I interject here? So we have already submitted the staff report to city council, so it is gonna be on the city council agenda on the 23rd, right, Tanya? Is that correct? Christine, or Christina, on the 23rd of January. So, and then as Jeremy mentioned, the 3 million, is full transparency, the 3 million, we don't know if it's, we're guesstimating that it is 3 million. So when we put this out to bid, then the contractor is gonna bid on it, and then we're gonna, we're gonna get the final numbers. So I just want, I don't want you to be shocked whenever you hear that it's 5 million or whatever it is, right? Because, or 2, right? So that, I just want to be very transparent there. We don't know that yet. So it's put out to bid. We'll, and we're taking it to city council to get the approval to put it out to bid on the 23rd. And then it'll be out to bid for 30, 90, depends on that procurement process. So I just want to be very transparent there.
And then some of what we're doing is we're reaching out to contractors to kind of give them a heads up it's coming so that we can get some really competitive prices.
Where's the money right now?
So, the money for it right now is coming out of local, like our local pocket, like our savings is essentially what it's coming out of. And that's why last time we were trying to get it paid for with Measure J funds or Measure D funds. And, this is also something that we, must take to our airlines. And anything over $1 million gets presented to our airlines for a majority and interest vote. So what that means is our airlines have to vote on it to say that, that they approve that this is a project that we can pay for. And this is a part of our airport use and lease agreement. So this was what was negotiated a couple of years ago. So, so there's still a few layers in here that, I want to be very transparent about, that we still have to go through process for. But this is our formalities of what we're doing. We're putting it out to bid right now.
Yeah.
So what we made a motion to council that the commission supports the staff report and moving forward with this project.
The staff report has already been submitted by engineering, so we won't be able to add that language into the staff report. Now, if you'd like to make it public, you're more than welcome to do so. It's just, it won't be added to the staff report.
No, I said we support the staff report.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're not. Yeah.
All right, so let's take that as a motion. Do we have a second? All right, let's do a roll call.
Do we have any questions first from the public?
Sorry, what is the motion? One more time.
Yes, sir. So we are making a motion to support this project and the staff support and to move forward with the project.
The staff's recommendation.
Staff's recommendation.
If there's anybody on Zoom that wishes to make a public comment, please raise your virtual Zoom hand. No public comment.
All right, can we take a roll?
Roll call. Banks?
Yeah.
Berryman?
Yes.
Burke?
Yes.
Caldwell?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Evansteiner?
One moment, I think we do have a public comment.
Oh, it's probably there. Let me go ahead and.
Go on to the attendees. The attendees.
Allowed to talk.
Thank you very much. I just have a quick question as it concerns the costing of this. Is it possible to actually have the airlines themselves pay for the square footage of this floor that they are occupying as part of their lease agreement?
So
I don't think we can respond to public. I'm sorry, we can't respond to questions from the public. It's just a comment. So.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, so we'll start again. Banks?
Yes.
Berryman?
Yes.
Burke?
Yes.
Caldwell?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Evansteiner?
Yes.
Fong? Hedrick?
Yes.
Keel? Martin?
Yes.
McDermott? Yes. Park?
Yes.
Pye?
Yes.
Samlanska?
Yes.
Wise?
Yes.
Wiseman?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Escalator replacement update. This is something that I've been working on with Jeremy. Some context, and Jeremy's going to give some background. We've received a lot of feedback about the progress you're making on the concessions. It looks good every time we open something up. We have a lot of feedback. You know, Cactus to the Clouds, a big hit, the whole shebang. So that's been great to hear. But one thing that's come up over and over again is about the escalators going to the Bono complex. They're too loud, they click, they raise the noise, and when you get on it, you're not sure you're gonna get to the top or the bottom safely. And then the other piece of feedback we've received is they're down a lot. So I raised the issue with the staff and Jeremy specifically to say, all right, we've got all this good news going on in the concessions, but this is a real embarrassment. If you come off the flight, you get to the top and the whole thing is jiggling. Same thing when you're heading off to your flights. So I said, what will we have to do to address this and replace these escalators so that that whole process starts to reflect where we're moving with concessions? And the original discussion was around escalators. What's the status? What's the challenge? Why are they the way they are? And Jeremy's going to explain this. But I'd also amend this to say the elevators as well. We have 2 elevators that need to be replaced as well. So in the spirit of, what is possible here, I asked the staff, what could we do and what we have to do to get this fixed and get these replaced and upgraded. And with that, I'll turn it over to Jeremy next about where we are. And then we're going to talk about, hopefully, how we can move forward and get some action on this. So Jeremy, let's just send it to you for some context and background.
Sure, and I think we kind of have a tag team effort here. I know Harry may have some comments, and Jacob is here with us. He's our maintenance superintendent, and Victoria is here, has some information. I have some information. So we've done a lot of investigation and research over the last week. This was brought up to us last week. Not that we didn't already know that the noise was an issue specific to the escalators, and we completely agree. You're not going to find anybody at the airport that doesn't think that the escalators need to be replaced or that the noise needs to be fixed. I think there were bandwidth was, a little bit of an issue in so many projects trying to, catch up from kind of being behind on pretty much everything else that we're behind on. We really needed to do elevators first, so we procured elevators because we really don't want to shut down the escalators before we had good operating elevators. And we knew we had elevators that were really in poor shape, and you can't make parts for them, and so they had to be completely gutted and replaced. So we procured that out, and Jacob is currently working with the elevator contractor that was awarded the bid. So that one's already in motion, going to happen here as soon as we kind of there's some long lead item parts, and Jacob is working with that vendor, and we're not really sure, if that's going to be, when that's going to happen. If that's hopefully during the summertime that we can shut down the elevators and make, get that done. But we really have to get the elevators done before we can really attack the escalators. Just because of ADA and everything else that we have. So,
so we're moving on it. We have an identified contractor who won the bid.
Yes, for the elevators.
So we're ready to rock.
Yep. It's just a matter of scheduling it and ordering the parts, right? So that can take some time. So, but we're at least moving on that one. That's already been, essentially, contracted. For the escalators, we also have been working on procurement and a scope of work for that too. So we were kind of already ahead. It's just a matter of kind of fitting it into the budget, fitting it into everything else that we're trying to do. So Jacob's pretty close, probably within the next couple of weeks, we'll have a good solid scope of work together to replace the escalators. So
do we have money in the budget to replace the escalators this year?
Victoria could probably talk a little bit more about that. We did put money in the budget. However, we were expecting to get grant funds. We had applied for a Bill ATP fund for those, and they weren't awarded. So that is one of our concerns, is, how do we fit it in with the rest of the projects that we have. But I don't know, Victoria, if you have.
No, that's pretty much the situation.
Right, so we still need a little bit more time to, meet with Harry and the team and figure out, if there's something that we need to slide, or how do we get the escalators in there, if there's something else that needs to slide down the list a little bit.
So, we can't vote on it tonight, a recommendation, but I think where we landed was, we wanted to put on the table, we wanted to share with you the priorities and the implications of all this. Great news on the elevators, I didn't know that, that's great. And I know that, what we're hearing from City Hall is, if there are funding issues, there are creative ways that we can address this, because I think they care about getting this done sooner than later as well. What do you want to do between now and our next meeting? What will you prepare to have ready for us so that we can keep the process moving and provide our support on our side?
I think we need to look, have some time to do a little bit more research, especially on the funding side of what, what's gonna happen with the projects. What do we have in the budget? What do we expect to spend this year? And make sure that we have the funding to do the escalators. And does anything have to get shifted? So we just need a little bit more time. I don't know if you have anything else to add? Harry, I don't know if you have anything else.
I don't know, can I defer to Jacob? Cause I know that we're also trying to figure out, maybe a way that we can even quiet him down with our existing, company that we have as,
We're looking into options with our current contractor for escalator and elevator maintenance, TKE. Who's a large multinational elevator manufacturer and maintenance company. It's pretty unlikely we're gonna have a really truly satisfactory solution to come through with this one. Mostly because the escalators are based largely on the original escalators that were installed in 1999. They were partially replaced or hybridized sometime around 6 or 7 years ago. I'm not exactly sure when that occurred. The partial replacement is largely the cause of the clunking sound and the grinding. The guide tracks that are incorporated into the trellis frame of that are not intended for the stairs and steps that are currently incorporated onto it. So it causes very uneven wear and a lot of bumping. For us to go through and replace all of the stairs over those tracks, aside from the lead time on the parts, and the cost, and also the construction schedule to do all of that work, we're really pretty much back at the point of just replacing the escalators. From my conversations with TK up to this point, the net difference is minimal. So since we're already on track with a good scope for complete and total replacement with fresh units, that's really kind of the direction I would recommend on this, rather than going in there and spending a lot of money to end up with a yet further hybridized unit that will probably develop issues again on its own.
I have a question. Do you know if this practice of hybridizing that happened 6 or 7 years ago was a global practice? Because we've noticed, my colleague who travels internationally, probably 200 days a year, he's noticed over the last 2 years that this is a global issue, and that escalators at every point of infrastructure that he's traveling through, airports, train station, have been down and under maintenance for an elevated amount of what's normal. And I don't know if anyone's traveled through Denver lately, but it seems like 10% of the elevators there are down every time, so.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of safety sensors on this, and unfortunately, that's probably what we'd say 95% of the time that the escalators are down is because someone's hitting these safety sensors. And there is no way around that. That's by state law, federal law, regulation, you have to have these safety sensors on there. And the problem that we are running into is that you have to be certified and have a certain certification through the state and have apprenticeships and all these things to be able to reset these escalators. So what happens about 50% of that time of it being down, we can turn a key and it restarts. But if the sensor detected something a little bit more significant hit than what allows us to restart, then you have to call out the maintenance company. So there's a lot of that we have no control over when they go down.
And sometimes these things are down for 2 weeks at a time.
We
And-
did actually have an incident where one of the handrail guides failed completely, just this past, October. And there was an extended period of time just to procure that replacement part, again, because it's a much older unit. That was a part that was nearly 30 years old. It took nearly 4 weeks to procure just the part to get the reinstallation. And that definitely had a significant effect on the public this year.
Just for some perspective, are we talking a 500,000 project or are we talking a 3 million project?
My estimate would be 1.2 million to replace both escalators. A new escalator unit per side would be about 450,000.
And elevator?
The elevators are separate from that, but that one is budgeted for and procured already at this point. It actually came in surprisingly less expensive than we expected.
I think it was about 500,000.
Yeah.
Wasn't it, to replace that elevator?
580,000 thereabouts.
So I think you've already answered my question, which is, why would we, let's not spend one more minute trying to patch these things, and let's shift all of our effort in how fast we can procure brand new escalators. And let's present a state-of-the-art look and functionality.
Agreed. I did reach out also, again, with our contractors to get an idea. With our contractor that we currently have, their lead time for a complete replacement would just to procure the parts and get them here on site is actually about 40 weeks. It'll take about 9 months from the notice to proceed to get all the parts here ready for installation.
Is there any way either going with other sources or?
So potentially,
that just seems like so unreasonable.
and that's something we can work into perhaps the procurement process if we go with an RFQ or RFP process. So far as availability and lead time as one of the qualifications.
Yeah.
And that's something we.
It costs us a little bit more.
It may cost us a bit more, but I agree that would be well worth it.
I think you can seek the advice of the city attorney for doing an emergency procurement provision, because there is no other pinch point in the entire complex of the airport that could just be devastating to the flow of traffic. So you don't even have to have an incident where it's broken, just the threat. I mean, it was always breaking down when I was here, so it's been a problem. And it's one of those where you can't spend too much on it because it's so important to keep it working.
You bring up a good point, and I think that since we're getting this feedback from the public and also across the street, I think one of the asks that we should explore in the next week before our next meeting is, what can we do on the procurement side across the street, either with the legal support and or the procurement process to shortcut this, to address this need? And let's put the pressure, let's ask for help to say, are there other ways, to your point, how we can get this done faster? And hopefully, if you put it out to RFP, we're gonna find an organization that can move faster than 40 weeks, hopefully. But I think that should be part of the discussion in the next couple of weeks, Jeremy, in preparing for the next meeting, is let's just ask them, because I know that, we're getting this feedback across the street as well. Let's ask them what they can do as well to speed this up, so we can try to get this addressed sooner than later and put all of our energy on replacing. And, between now and whenever that happens, I guess we're trying to keep them going, but I wouldn't put energy into any of this.
And one of the other things that you can ask the procurement folks to do is put in language in the RFP, bonus language, if we get it completed within a tighter time frame, or focus and or working on off times. People working in the middle of the night, supposed to never working during the day on it. It's gonna be a lot more expensive, but it'd probably be worth it.
So, I think Commissioner Corcoran, as you were saying, maybe we do just vote on the replacement rather than the modification or modernizing it. Maybe we just vote tonight on the replacement of it, so that when we do actually put it out to bid and then it's ready to go to council, we say that we have the support of the commission, if that's what you still all like.
If that's gonna help speed it up, I'd like to see us do it. Ken?
So I make a motion that we expeditiously move forward with the replacement of the escalators in the fastest possible way.
They're good?
Public comment.
Any public
That
comments?
sounds good to me.
We have no public comments on Zoom.
All right. I need a second.
Second.
Awesome. Let's vote for new escalators.
Bates,
Yes.
Harriman,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Evansteiner,
Yeah.
Vaughn,
Aye.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Keel,
Yes.
Martin,
Yes.
McDermott. Yes. Park. Yes. Ty,
Yes.
Sam Lanska,
Yes.
Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent. So just an asterisk on this. We will communicate to, the city manager, the sense of urgency around this and get his support, city council's support for moving this quickly. I'd love to see us use this as a way of demonstrating to ourselves that we can move and get something done fast, especially something that's as public as this. So, we'll do our best across the street to get their support, but if we can keep that urgency around this and you come back with a full plan at the next meeting, that would be a good. Okay? Sure. Good. Awesome. All right, noise committee. Commissioner Bond, let's stop with the noise.
We had our quarterly meeting today. Since the last meeting, there were 9 complaints regarding noise. 2 for commercial aviation, 4 for general aviation, and 3 military. Noise complaints were researched, they were investigated, responded to. There's nothing particular of note, and those reports have been logged.
Any questions? Any questions from the public?
I would like to make a comment. I guess it was last week, we had an Ascena Association presentation by Daley in the master plan. I did a little preamble to the commissioner member. I have received a lot of feedback from Ascena residents that they feel like the airport is not being a good neighbor from a noise perspective to the HOA, to the people of Ascena. Particularly, they are quite uncomfortable, upset with the flying of low, twin prop planes, namely from the Air Museum, right over our neighborhood at very low altitude on weekends. It's not always just on weekends, sometimes it's daily, and they go back and back and back for hours, just flying over our neighborhood, because I guess they think it looks pretty, fly over. And so they were pushing me like, what can the airport do to prevent these smaller planes that don't have good soundproofing from flying over our neighborhood? And so I said I would bring it up and see what can be done, or are we just at the whim of whoever wants to fly over the neighborhood?
It's a really good question, because there are a lot.
There are very
a lot of Saturdays.
I sit in my backyard and literally not talk in your backyard.
I don't wanna commit to anything because Harry will probably get upset, but, I'm sure he's probably listening, that I think the plan was to do some continued outreach with the surrounding communities on noise at some point. So I know that that's kind of in our plan, so maybe this is an opportunity for us to do some outreach.
Is there anything that can be done? I mean, does the airport have any?
Very limited, right, because they're in the traffic pattern to that runway on that side of the airport, so.
Well, it's not taking and landing off commercial.
Remember, we don't control the air, right, that's controlled by the FAA, we have no.
So there's no restrictions, I can fly a private plane over anybody's house at any altitude?
Essentially, yes, there's rules and regulations as a pilot, are you a pilot? So you might be able to tell us, I'm a pilot myself. So, there's essentially rules and regulations that you can be at any, elevation you need to safely land or take off from an airport.
But they're not landing, we're taking off. They're flying over.
Right, but they're making an approach into the airport. So anyway, I don't know, maybe Harry wants to speak.
Harry, you want to chat about this?
Yeah, I can weigh in on this. So Jeremy is correct. So the airspace is actually seen as a public right and it's controlled by the FAA. So once an aircraft is wheels up, the airport has very little control of that aircraft. We can reach out to the pilots and have discussions with them. We can educate them on the impacts that they're having, work with air traffic control to see if there's any mitigations there. But the honest answer is once an aircraft is wheels off the ground, it's under the purview of the FAA and not the airport. So we do work with the FAA on these things to determine if the pilot is actually doing something that's legal. Sometimes that's a question, whether they're flying too low and near homes, and if it's unsafe, what caused that incident. But beyond that, the noise policy is voluntary. It's not something that we can really enforce.
Yeah.
Just wondering, Commissioner Martin, if you think it's the Air Museum, have you tried talking to them? Because they're.
I know that residents have tried and the feedback was very negative. Not only, sorry, we can't do anything, but just we were here first type feedback. So I don't know. I think the residents are asking, can the airport help facilitate a conversation with at least the airport museum, which is the biggest issue that people would comment on. Is there any relief that this neighborhood can get from this continuous flying overhead?
Yes, absolutely. The airport can help facilitate a conversation, and Jeremy is correct. Has been on my radar this year to start some outreach.
So considering the collaboration between us and the Airport Museum in the last 3 months, which is, resulting in the Boeing installation, we have a great relationship with Fred Bell. So why don't we chat about it? Because I think it's a good point that,
I think I'd get a lot of brownie points from, an entire neighborhood.
We'll make that happen. So, and let's follow up with it. And I'm sure Fred will welcome the conversation, maybe not the results, but it's a fair conversation and we have a good relationship there. So let's leverage that and see where it takes us.
I know the community would appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Can I move forward?
Any other questions? Any questions on Zoom from the public? Please raise your virtual Zoom hand. No problem.
Concessions update, Jeremy.
Yeah, so I'll just give you a quick rundown of kind of the 4 outstanding locations that are opening. Pink Door is moving along really nice. That should be opening here within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So I think there's a lot of excitement about that you'll be able to, get a cup of coffee downstairs and buy some things, and for people waiting to pick up folks. So we're really excited about that. And then the next 2 locations, the big locations, are obviously Trio and Vino Bolo. Trio and Vino Bolo are proceeding along. They've actually added extra staff for Saturdays to try to catch up, and they got an extra 2 or 3 rounds of extra help coming out from Phoenix, that is where G4 is at, to try to help speed up some of the work. But I would still say that we're probably still in that early April to late March. Late March, if we're really lucky, if they can not hit any other hiccups along the way. There's still a lot of work to be done in both of those locations. And then obviously we'll round out with a movie calling the Canteen. We really don't have a good date yet for a movie calling the Canteen, but everything else has to finish before we put in a movie calling the Canteen. So Terry needs to start trying to get ahead. All the permits are being put in, and we're waiting on comments back from the city as we speak, so we can try to get ahead and try to do as much pre-work as we can, so that we can, rapidly get into that as those other 2 locations are open. So I don't know if anybody has any comments on it.
The ad hoc committee had a meeting with the folks from the Marshall Group, sharing concerns about the composition of what they're selling. Is there enough focus on Palm Springs products, et cetera? Victoria, we were promising sort of feedback within 30 days. Is there a plan to get feedback from those folks? You've heard anything?
Yes, so, we have heard back from, WH Smith, and, they are.
Called now, so no longer Marshall Group, WH Smith.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes, WH Smith, they changed their name. So, we found out that, all of the items that were addressed at the ad hoc meeting, they are working on those items. Some of the things include, getting proper signage for all of the local, companies that are there. So they're still actively working through that to get the signage put up and in place. We also are trying to, there was a request for Brandini Toffee, ice cream, and putting that inside of, WH Smith's locations. They're trying to configure the, proper freezer that they need, small enough that it's not gonna block any kind of, ADA requirements, as well as, have enough voltage power and, not too much heat, because that was a problem with our HVA system, in Las Palmas. So, they're still they're working through that. They also have, there was an inventory, concern that they have with the local companies, and they have, ironed that out. So, there should not be any more ordering issues when it comes down to inventory levels for all of the local products. So, there's also 2 people that were supposed to come out from the VP office that are gonna be taking a look. They haven't came out. They're supposed to be out. They were supposed to be here this Friday, but they had to change plans. So we don't have an updated date on that yet. So, once we get that date, then we're gonna schedule a meeting with the ad hoc commission, to go over the results of that meeting. So, everything's progressing well.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Thank you for that, October.
You're welcome.
I saw a Facebook ad just recently, and it showed for Palm Springs Airport, and it showed all the Palm Springs items that we were talking about.
Oh,
It just popped up like this, so somebody did something really cool.
Good.
We're holding feet to the fire on this issue, so we'll get an update and, we'll let you know what happens for the next ad hoc meeting. All right, we've done the marketing updates. I think it's.
Yeah, quick question.
Anybody else?
Is there any questions on anybody from the public on Zoom that wishes to make a public comment?
No.
Ready? Financial update, Victoria.
I just have the financials inside of the packet. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Everybody good?
Anyone from the public wish to make a public comment? Anybody on Zoom wish to make a public comment? Please raise your Zoom hand. Everybody good? No public comments?
Okay, employment update, Jeremy.
Yeah, the employment update, sheet is in your packet as well, so, I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments that, Mary or myself can answer.
Any progress with the Deputy Director of Capital Development, the senior leadership thing you've been trying to build?
It is posted right now. I believe it's posted on the Palm Springs city webpage, as well as we're having an executive search firm that's helping us on that. I don't know, Perry, if you have any.
No, nothing to add to that. It's open continuous, so we're taking resumes as they come.
If we strike out on this again, can we evaluate the salary structure for this position? Or have you guys already done that with HR across the street?
Well, HR did adjust the salary by 2.5%. I think they're anticipating that with the 5% increase that we're supposed to get in July, that should draw some candidates. If it's not successful, I do think we will go back and address it again.
We'll give you as much support as you need on that, but we're not paying enough. We just need to fix the salary structure to get this job done. Okay, any other questions? Please.
Is there any discussion about bringing some of this function in-house? I know that we're managing it with the help of the folks across the street, but is there a conversation on the table to get HR here on the field?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And it's, support services from the city are always tricky because we are not the city.
Right.
So an engineer here is different than an engineer across the street. And we're hoping to make some progress with these positions. But if we continue to struggle filling them, I think that's a conversation you said we'd love to have. Right now, we have an HR person assigned to us, right? Who is working on recruiting, full-time working for us. Is that person in the building here? No, still across the street. But, we raised that issue that we're a different animal. We can't have consistent jobs because they're not consistent. But we've also been told there's going to be more flexibility. If we can't hire this position because we're aligning it with some other thing, a position across the street that doesn't pay enough, then we should look at that. We should have more flexibility in terms of our salary structures. The next move about really getting full-time resources here is another whole discussion. But in the course of looking at this, we had raised that issue. When is it time for And,
It just feels like we're having this continuous.
We have.
Okay, okay.
All right. More to come on that. All right. Any other comments on this? Any comments from the public? All right. Projects and airport update, Jeremy?
Yep, the update's in your package there, so I can answer any questions about it.
Do we need to have a separate discussion, perhaps at the next meeting, to really get us smart about the runways and what the reality of all that is? I don't know if do it now, but it's raised, it's kind of scary in the report.
So I don't know that we're quite ready for that. We did do an airport pavement management system update, so we have done that. That's actually almost finalized. So the update could be wrong. I'm not sure. Maybe it hasn't been updated for a little while, but we have finished that. So we have some preliminary data, but we're still working with our engineering firm to iron that out, and we're going to be looking at doing a little bit more deeper dive analysis in the runway. And I don't know that we really have the PC, the AP Airport Pavement Management System report is it needs to be explained by a consultant because it's the PCI just. So the way they do it is that just because they may say a certain section is failing or poor or good, or that doesn't necessarily mean that the pavement's failing. That's because there's a certain calculation of cracks that they have to measure, and there's a formulation and a calculation that comes out of there that gives you this PCI number, and then it calculates and says, you know, this is the condition of that pavement based on that calculation. But it's not a full picture of what is actually happening with the pavement. We know that the runway is, you know, has been, you know, kind of beaten up by a large aircraft that was really not intended, right? There's been an increase in the equipment size that we've had over the years. So we know we have to get into the runway, but we don't really have a whole lot of information at this point. So I don't know, it might be premature to come to you in February or March until we get into a little bit more analysis with our engineer.
So don't scare us. And then tell us, you know, and then when you're ready, bring it.
And we have done the taxiway system is Whiskey has been completely paved. So we don't have any issues with Whiskey, and that was falling apart on us. That's what we just finished. So everything else is fairly good. It's just the runway is kind of the next project.
Yeah, so you'll let us know. Yeah, all right, Commissioner, anything else in the executive director update? You got Harry's update, any questions?
We just need to go, for the projects and airport capital improvement program, do we have any questions? Anyone from the public that wishes to make a public comment in the room or on Zoom, please raise your virtual Zoom hand. No public comments.
Okay, Harry, any comments in your executive director update?
I'm sorry, was somebody speaking?
No, any questions from you, from the commission, or Harry, any comments you want to make?
There are just a couple things that aren't in the report I wanted to touch on. The first is Victoria probably alluded to that we're starting our budgeting for the next 2 years for the airport. Just preliminary analysis, we've gone through and we've determined we need about 18 additional personnel, largely in maintenance. So what I had Victoria, I've tasked Victoria with checking with Frasca to see what impacts that'll have on the cost per employments for the airlines, and then we'll make a determination from there on what exactly we propose to move forward with to the city council. So just wanted to keep everybody in the loop that we are working on that behind the scenes, and hopefully we'll get that out over the next 30 days or so. The other thing I wanted to touch on, I do apologize for not being there tonight. I'm actually in DC. I was asked to come to a Customs and Border Protection FIS Insight event at the National Academy of Sciences. And we've had over the last couple of days a lot of robust discussion about a number of things, including facility design, technology, human and bag screening processes, accessibility, etc. The idea is to, what they wanted from us was our input essentially on how it impacts small hub airports as we're starting to think about what to do with our customs facility and an FIS. But it really brought together a lot of different stakeholders. So we've got the Future Borders Coalition here, Airports Council International, the International Air Transport Association, Customs and Border Protection, a number of airlines, and a few airports. And there is a lot just to digest in terms of process and what needs to happen with the FIS process. So I'll be writing that up in a report and bringing it back, but I just wanted to highlight that that's what's happening here in DC.
Questions for Harry? Thank you, Harry. Any comments from the public? Any public comments? No? Okay, we don't get them on, all right.
No, not further items.
Thanks, Harry. Safe travels coming back to us. All right, commissioners' request reports. Anything else from commissioners? Okay. The list of the January 23rd meeting, the city council, we have 10 different items on this thing. We anticipate most of these will go to the consent calendar. Is there any anticipated discussion besides the master plan about this?
No.
Okay. Good. Lots. We're going to keep them spinning. That's a lot of stuff to go and look at. That's great. Okay. Anything else? We all good? What's our next meeting? What date? February 19th. Let's set our order of calendars. Final, anything else? Any other comments? Going once, going twice? Thank you all for your time to staff. Thank you for the great planning and getting us all ready for this. Harry, safe travels. And we'll see everybody next month. Thanks so much.